He poisoned his wife's candy bowl on Halloween. Guess who took the first bite? The autopsy said accidental death. Heart failure. Medication mixed with alcohol. Tragic but natural. The police closed the case in 4 days. But Detective Morris kept one piece of evidence he couldn't explain. A voice recording of a man and his mother planning the perfect murder. And the victim of that murder? She was sitting in the room when the wrong person died. Clara Rhodes watched her mother-in-law choke to death on candy that was supposed to kill her. And she did nothing. Said nothing. Until she walked into the police station 3 days later with evidence that would rip this whole case wide open. You think you know how this story ends? You have no idea. If you're ready to enjoy this story, click that subscribe button, like this video and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more wonderful stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now let's get into the story. October 31st. Halloween night. The thing about poison is that it doesn't look like anything at all. Daniel Rhodes learned that on a Tuesday afternoon when his mother handed him a small glass vial filled with white powder. It looked like sugar. Like something you'd put in your coffee without thinking twice. 2 tablespoons, Evelyn had said, her voice flat and cold as winter steel. Mix it into anything sweet. She won't taste a thing. Now, standing in his kitchen with the candy bowl in front of him, Daniel's hands wouldn't stop shaking. The house smelled like cinnamon and fake cobwebs. Outside, kids were already running up and down the street in costumes. Pirates and princesses and monsters that weren't half as scary as what he was about to do. Jack-o'-lanterns glowed on every porch in Maplewood, their crooked smiles watching him through the window. Daniel unscrewed the vial. His reflection stared back at him from the kitchen window, a 42-year-old man with thinning hair and eyes that used to be kind. He barely recognized himself anymore. When had he become this? When had he stopped being the person who read bedtime stories and graded spelling tests and believed that people were mostly good? When you married her, his mother's voice whispered in his head. When you let that woman ruin everything. He poured the powder into the candy bowl. Chocolate bars. Gummy worms. Lollipops wrapped in bright orange paper. The poison disappeared among them like it was never there at all. Good. Daniel jumped. His mother stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching him with those sharp gray eyes that had controlled every choice he'd made since he was 6 years old. Evelyn Rhodes was 72, but age hadn't softened her. She wore her cruelty like expensive jewelry. Polished, deliberate, impossible to ignore. Her silver hair was pulled back tight, and her lipstick was the color of dried blood. "Don't look so guilty," she said. "You're doing the right thing." Daniel's throat felt tight. "Mom, I don't know if..." "She's been stealing from you for 7 years, Daniel." Evelyn's voice could cut glass. That woman saw a lonely teacher with a trust fund and she pounced. "You think she loves you? She loves your bank account." "Clara's not like that. Clara," Evelyn spat the name like poison itself, "is exactly like that. She's a nobody. A gold digger who got her claws into my son and won't let go." Daniel wanted to argue. Wanted to say that Clara had never asked him for anything, that she worked 2 jobs to help pay off her mother's medical bills, that she was the one who held him when he cried after his father died. But the words stuck in his throat the way they always did. Have you ever loved someone but been too afraid to defend them? Drop a comment. I want to hear your story. Evelyn moved closer, her perfume filling the room. Something floral and suffocating. "After tonight, you'll be free. We'll tell everyone it was an accident. Some terrible Halloween tragedy. And then you can come home where you belong." Home. She meant her house. The same house Daniel had spent his entire childhood trying to escape, only to end up right back in her orbit the moment his father's will was read. What if something goes wrong? Daniel whispered. Nothing will go wrong. Evelyn's smile was thin and sharp. She eats from that bowl every Halloween. Sits on the couch, watches her little horror movies, stuffs her face with candy like a child. By midnight it'll be over. Daniel looked at the bowl, at the poison hiding inside ordinary things. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Picking up more candy at the store. Be home by 7. Love you. 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they just felt like a weight around his neck. She'll never see it coming, Evelyn said softly, almost gently. And that's a mercy, Danny. A mercy. 6 hours earlier, Clara Rhodes stood in the bathroom, staring at the small glass vial in her hand. She'd found it that morning, tucked behind Daniel's allergy medication in the cabinet. No label. Just white powder in a container that didn't belong there. At first, she'd thought maybe it was cocaine. Some desperate midlife crisis thing. But Daniel didn't have the spine for drugs. He barely had the spine to pick a restaurant without calling his mother first. So she'd done what any smart woman would do, she'd Googled it. Took a tiny sample, drove to a friend who worked at a lab, asked no questions she didn't want answered. The text came back 20 minutes ago. Girl, this is thallium compound. Industrial grade. Where did you get this? Clara had smiled at her phone. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile you make when you finally understand the punchline of a joke that's been going on too long. She'd known Daniel was weak. Known his mother was cruel. But she never thought they'd actually try to kill her. The bathroom mirror showed a 35-year-old black woman with tired eyes and box braids she'd done herself to save money. Clara had worked as a nursing assistant for 12 years, pulling double shifts to help her mama with rent after the stroke. She'd met Daniel at a community fundraiser. This soft-spoken white guy with glasses who'd volunteered to read to kids at the library. He'd seemed kind. Seemed safe. She'd married him thinking she'd finally found someone who saw her as more than a paycheck or a burden. Turned out, his mother had other ideas. Clara opened the vial and poured the poison down the sink. Then she filled it with vitamin B powder. Harmless. White. Identical. Put it back exactly where she'd found it. She wasn't stupid. She knew what Evelyn Rhodes thought of her. Gold digger. Nobody. Not good enough for my son. Clara had 7 years of snide comments and accidental insults burned into her memory. 7 years of Daniel making excuses, canceling plans, choosing his mother over his wife again and again and again. But this was different. This was attempted murder. And Clara wasn't about to die for a man who didn't have the guts to love her out loud. She pulled out her phone and opened the voice memo app. Hit record. Slipped it into her jacket pocket. If Daniel and his mother wanted to play this game, fine. But Clara Rhodes didn't lose. 7:15 p.m. The doorbell started ringing right on schedule. Trick or treat. Clara opened the door to a tiny Spider-Man and a princess with a wand. She smiled, dropped candy into their buckets. The good candy, the stuff she'd bought herself, untouched and safe. You two are the cutest, she said. Stay safe out there, okay? The kids ran off, and Clara closed the door. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. Daniel was in the living room, pretending to watch TV. He'd barely looked at her since she got home. Guilty eyes. Sweating through his shirt even though the house was cold. You okay, baby? Clara asked, her voice sweet as honey. You seem tense. I'm fine. He didn't look at her. Just tired. Clara sat down next to him, close enough that he flinched. Long day. Yeah. The candy bowl sat on the coffee table between them. The poisoned one. The one Daniel thought would kill her. Clara reached for it. Daniel's hand shot out. Wait. She paused, looked at him. What? His face went pale. Maybe we should save that for later. For the movie. Clara tilted her head, studying him. This man she'd slept next to for 7 years. This man who'd promised to love her in front of 200 people and couldn't even look her in the eye now. Sure, she said quietly. Later. The doorbell rang again. More kids. More costumes. More tiny voices shouting for candy. Clara got up to answer it, and Daniel exhaled like he'd been holding his breath underwater. Outside, the sun was setting. The streetlights flickered on. Halloween night was just beginning. And somewhere across town, Evelyn Rhodes was getting ready to watch her son become a widower. 8:45 p.m. The text from Evelyn came right on time. On my way. Make sure she eats. Daniel stared at his phone, stomach churning. He'd thrown up twice already. Once in the bathroom at school, once in the garage before Clara got home. His body knew what his mind couldn't admit. He was about to become a murderer. Clara was in the kitchen now, humming to herself. Some old Aretha Franklin song. She'd always had a good voice, soft and warm. On their first date, she'd sung along to the car radio and he'd fallen a little bit in love right there. When had that love turned into this? You want tea? Clara called out. I'm making some. No thanks. You sure? You look like you could use it. Daniel closed his eyes. Don't be nice to me. Please God, don't be nice to me right now. The doorbell rang. His mother. Daniel opened the door, and there she was, Evelyn Rhodes in all her cold, calculating glory. She wore a black coat and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Happy Halloween, she said, stepping inside without being invited. Clara appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Evelyn. What a surprise. I thought I'd stop by, Evelyn said. Family should be together on holidays, don't you think? The two women stared at each other. 7 years of tension crackling in the air like static electricity. Of course, Clara said smoothly. Come on in. I was just about to watch a movie. They moved to the living room. The candy bowl sat on the coffee table, innocent and deadly. Evelyn settled onto the couch like a queen on a throne. What are we watching? The Shining, Clara said. My favorite. How fitting. Evelyn's smile was razor thin. A story about a man driven mad by isolation and family pressure. Daniel felt sweat drip down his back. Clara laughed softly. I always thought it was about a man who let his demons control him. But I guess we all see what we want to see. The movie started. Jack Nicholson's face filled the screen, all wild eyes and dangerous smiles. And then Clara reached for the candy bowl. Daniel's heart stopped. But before she could take anything, Evelyn's hand shot out, quick as a snake. Oh, don't mind if I do, she said, plucking out a chocolate bar. I haven't had good candy in ages. You always buy the expensive kind, don't you, Clara? Time seemed to slow down. Daniel's mouth opened. Mom, no. But Evelyn was already unwrapping it, that same cruel smile on her face. What's wrong, Danny? Afraid I'll eat it all. She bit down. And everything went to hell. What happens next will shock you. But first, would you have swapped the poison like Clara did, or confronted them directly? Let me know in the comments. The choking started 5 seconds later. Evelyn's hand flew to her throat, her eyes going wide with confusion that quickly twisted into panic. The chocolate bar tumbled from her fingers, landing on the carpet like a piece of damning evidence. Mom! Daniel's voice came out strangled, wrong. He lunged forward, but his mother was already stumbling backward, her perfectly manicured hands clawing at her neck. Clara didn't move. She sat perfectly still in the armchair across from them, her face as calm as a lake before a storm. Her eyes tracked every movement, every gasp, every second of Evelyn Rhodes's terror with an expression Daniel couldn't read. "Call 911. Daniel screamed, catching his mother as she collapsed against the couch. Her weight was dead and heavy in his arms. "Clara, call someone." Clara picked up her phone from the side table. Slowly. Her fingers moved across the screen with the kind of deliberate calm that made Daniel's blood turn to ice water. 911, what's your emergency? "My mother-in-law is choking," Clara said, her voice as steady as a heartbeat. "She ate something and now she can't breathe. We are at 847 Maple Street. Please hurry." Evelyn's face was turning purple, the color spreading from her cheeks to her forehead like spilled wine. Her mouth opened and closed, pulling in nothing but panic. The sounds coming from her throat were wet and desperate, the sound of a body betraying itself. "Is she conscious?" the dispatcher asked, her voice crackling through the speaker. "Barely. She's fading fast." Daniel tried the Heimlich, his hands shaking so badly he could barely get his arms around his mother's thin frame. He pulled upward once, twice, 3 times. Nothing came up. Evelyn's body went limp in his arms, her weight suddenly too real, too final. "Mom, please, please don't do this." His voice broke into sobs. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." On the TV screen, Jack Nicholson's face grinned maniacally. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. The movie kept playing like nothing was happening, like the world hadn't just tilted sideways. "Stay with me, Mom," Daniel begged, lowering her to the floor. Her eyes were rolling back, showing only whites. "Please, I didn't mean, this wasn't supposed to." "The ambulance is 3 minutes away," Clara said quietly, still on the phone. She set it down on speaker and finally stood, moving closer but not close enough to touch. Not close enough to help. Daniel looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. "Do something. You're a nurse. Help her." Clara tilted her head slightly, studying Evelyn's dying face with clinical detachment. "I'm a nursing assistant, not a nurse. And I don't think there's anything I can do for her now." Something in her tone made Daniel's stomach drop. "What do you mean?" he whispered. Before Clara could answer, sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights painted the walls through the windows, turning their living room into a crime scene before it officially became one. The paramedics arrived in a chaos of equipment and urgent voices. 2 of them, a young Latino man and a middle-aged white woman with tired eyes, burst through the door Daniel had left unlocked. They pushed Daniel aside with practiced efficiency, dropping their gear around Evelyn's body. "How long has she been unresponsive?" the woman asked, already checking for a pulse. 2 minutes, maybe 3, Clara said. "She ate a piece of chocolate and started choking. Couldn't clear the airway." The male paramedic grabbed the chocolate wrapper from the floor with a gloved hand, sealed it in a plastic evidence bag. "Any known allergies?" Daniel's mouth opened but no sound came out. His brain had shut down, stuck on the image of his mother's terrified eyes staring at nothing. "Not that we know of," Clara answered for him. "But she has a heart condition. Takes medication for it." The female paramedic's hands stilled for just a second. "What medication?" "I don't know the names. Beta blockers, I think. Blood thinners." They exchanged a look, quick, meaningful, the kind of silent communication that comes from years of working together. "Starting compressions," the woman said, and began CPR while her partner prepared the defibrillator. Daniel watched from the couch where Clara had guided him, his whole body shaking. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. His mother couldn't die. She was too strong, too mean, too alive to just stop existing. The defibrillator charged with a high-pitched whine. "Clear." Evelyn's body jerked. Once, twice, 3 times. The heart monitor stayed flat. No pulse, the male paramedic said quietly. Time of death, 9:47 p.m. The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. He doubled over, a sound ripping from his throat that didn't sound human. Evelyn Rhodes died at 9:47 p.m. on Halloween night, surrounded by strangers in a house that had always hated her, while her son sobbed on a couch and her daughter-in-law watched with dry eyes. The police arrived 20 minutes later. Detective Raymond Morris was a heavy-set black man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. He wore a rumpled suit and the expression of someone who'd rather be home watching football. His partner was younger, Detective Sarah Chen, Asian American, sharp-eyed, with her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. They stood in the living room where the paramedics had finally packed up and left, taking Evelyn's body with them. The candy bowl still sat on the coffee table, untouched and waiting. "Mr. Rhodes," Morris said, his voice gentle in the way cops use with victims who might become suspects. "I know this is difficult, but I need you to walk me through what happened tonight." Daniel sat on the couch, his hands clasped between his knees. He'd stopped crying, but his eyes were red and swollen. "She came over to visit. Around 9. Just wanted to spend Halloween together. She grabbed some candy from the bowl and..." His voice cracked. "She started choking. I tried to help, but I couldn't save her." Morris wrote something in his notebook. "Your mother visit often?" "Sometimes. She lived alone since my father died. I think she got lonely." Detective Chen was walking around the room, her eyes cataloging everything. She stopped at the candy bowl, pulled on latex gloves, picked it up carefully. "This the bowl she took the candy from?" "Yes," Clara said. She'd been so quiet Daniel had almost forgotten she was there, sitting in the armchair like a ghost at her own life. Chen examined the contents. "Lot of candy here. You hand this out to trick-or-treaters?" "No. That's a different bowl by the door. This one was for us. For after." "After what?" "After the kids stopped coming. We always watch a horror movie and eat candy on Halloween. It's tradition." Chen's eyes flicked to Clara. "You eat any of this tonight?" "No. I was waiting." "Waiting for what?" Clara's face remained perfectly neutral. "For the movie to start. For things to settle down." Morris moved closer to Daniel. "Your mother have any health problems you know about?" Daniel nodded miserably. "Heart condition. She took medication for it. I don't know what kind. She never liked talking about being sick." "She drink tonight?" The question hung in the air. Daniel blinked. I don't know. Maybe. She sometimes carried a flask. Said it helped with her nerves." "Did you see her drink from it tonight?" "I wasn't paying attention. I was watching to see if Clara would eat the poisoned candy. I was distracted." Chen had moved to the kitchen now, opening cabinets, peering into the trash. "Mr. Rhodes, can you come here for a second?" Daniel stood on shaking legs and followed her. She was standing by the sink, looking at something in the drain. "You pour anything down here recently?" His heart stopped. "Like what?" "I don't know. Just seems like there's residue. White powder or something." Clara appeared in the doorway. "That was me. I made hot chocolate earlier. Probably spilled some of the mix." Chen looked at her for a long moment. "Hot chocolate?" "Yes. In October. I like hot chocolate year-round." Clara's voice didn't waver. "Is that a crime?" Morris cleared his throat from the living room. "Ladies, let's keep this civil. Ms. Rhodes, Mrs. Rhodes, We're just trying to understand what happened here." Clara walked back to the living room and sat down. "I understand, Detective. My mother-in-law ate a piece of chocolate, had an allergic reaction or a heart attack or something, and died. It's tragic. It's horrible. But I don't know what else I can tell you." "How was your relationship with Mrs. Rhodes?" Morris asked. "The elder Mrs. Rhodes, I mean." The room went quiet except for the sound of the TV. Someone had finally turned off The Shining and now the news was playing. "Local woman dies on Halloween night. More at 11. We weren't close," Clara said carefully. "She made it clear from the beginning that she didn't approve of me marrying her son." "Why not?" Clara's jaw tightened. "You'd have to ask her. But I think it had something to do with the color of my skin and the size of my bank account." Detective Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. Morris just nodded like he'd heard it all before. "Mr. Rhodes," Morris said, turning to Daniel. "That accurate?" Daniel felt like he was drowning. "My mother was complicated. She had strong opinions about things. About black women marrying her son? About anyone marrying her son. She thought no one was good enough. But especially not black women," Clara added quietly. "Let's be honest, Daniel. Your mother called me things I won't repeat. Told you I was a gold digger. Said I trapped you. Made you choose between her and me every single day for 7 years." Morris wrote that down. "Sounds like there was a lot of tension." "There was," Clara admitted. "But I didn't kill her, if that's what you're implying." "No one's implying anything," Chin said, but her eyes said different. "We're just gathering information. There'll be an autopsy. Standard procedure for sudden deaths. Especially when the deceased had access to." She held up an evidence bag. Inside was a small flask. Alcohol mixed with heart medication. Daniel's head spun. "Where did you find that?" "In her purse," which was sitting right there on the coffee table. Chen's eyes were sharp. "Smells like wine. Red wine. You know if your mother had been drinking before she came here." "I don't know. She might have." "Beta blockers and alcohol are a dangerous combination," Chin continued. "Can cause sudden cardiac arrest. Especially in someone her age." Morris closed his notebook. "Here's what's going to happen. We'll send the candy and the flask to the lab. Do the autopsy. Write up our report. You folks need to stay available for questions. Don't leave town without letting us know." After they left, the house fell into a silence so thick Daniel felt like he was suffocating. He stared at Clara, really looked at her for the first time since his mother died. She was calm. Too calm. Like someone who'd been expecting this. Like someone who'd planned for this. "You knew," he whispered. "You knew this would happen." Clara stood, walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water. Drank it slowly. When she turned back, her eyes were cold. "Your mother died from her own choices, Daniel. From years of stress and medication and alcohol and hate eating her up from the inside. I didn't kill her. But you wanted her dead." "No." Clara set down the glass. "I wanted her gone. There's a difference." She walked past him, grabbed her jacket from the hook by the door. "Where are you going?" Daniel's voice cracked. "Anywhere but here. Clara, please, we need to talk about this." She turned, and for the first time that night, he saw real emotion in her eyes. Not anger. Not hate. Just exhaustion so deep it looked like grief. "What's there to talk about, Daniel? Your mother is dead. You wanted me dead. And I'm the only one who has to live with knowing both of those things." "I never wanted." "Yes, you did." Her voice was quiet but sharp as broken glass. You wanted it so badly you put poison in that candy bowl. Don't you dare stand there and lie to me now." Daniel's face went white. "How did you?" Clara pulled out her phone. Pressed play. His own voice filled the room, tinny through the small speaker but unmistakable. "The poison's in the bowl. She'll never see it coming. After tonight, it's over." And his mother's response. "Good boy." Finally showing some backbone. The recording went on. 5 minutes of conspiracy, of murder planning, of Daniel agreeing to kill his wife for inheritance money and his mother's approval. "I recorded you 3 days ago," Clara said, her voice shaking now. "When you and your mother were in the garage. I was getting the mail and heard you through the window." Daniel couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The walls were closing in. "I found the poison 2 days before that," Clara continued. "Hidden in the medicine cabinet behind your allergy medication. Thallium compound. Industrial grade. Colorless. Tasteless. Deadly." She took a step closer. "I had it tested. Then I replaced it with vitamin B powder. Looked identical. You never even checked." "Clara." "That's not what killed your mother, Daniel." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I didn't poison her. I didn't touch her. She died because her heart gave out. Because she mixed alcohol with medication. Because 72 years of cruelty finally caught up with her." Daniel felt his knees give out. He slumped against the wall, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. "Why didn't you confront me?" he whispered. "Why didn't you just leave?" "Because I needed to know." Clara's voice broke. "I needed to see if you'd really go through with it. If the man I married was completely gone or if there was something, anything, left worth saving." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "And then your mother grabbed that candy first. And I watched her die. And I watched you cry over her body. And I realized something." "What?" Clara looked at him with eyes that had loved him once and now held nothing but pity. "You're not crying because you feel guilty about trying to kill me. You're crying because your mother is dead and now you're alone. You're crying for yourself, Daniel. You always were." She opened the door. Cold October air rushed in, carrying the smell of dead leaves and distant bonfires. "Don't contact me," she said quietly. "Don't look for me. Don't try to explain or apologize or make this right. There's nothing left to save here. Where will you go?" "Somewhere you can't poison." The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. Daniel sat alone on the floor of his house, surrounded by Halloween decorations and the ghost of his mother and the evidence of his own murderous intent. On the coffee table, the candy bowl still sat there, full of sweets that looked innocent but had destroyed 3 lives. Outside, the last trick-or-treaters were heading home, their laughter fading into the dark. Inside, Daniel Rhodes finally understood what his wife had tried to tell him for 7 years. Sometimes the poison isn't in the candy. Sometimes it's in the person offering it to you. And sometimes, by the time you realize you've been poisoned, it's already too late. Have you ever discovered someone you loved was capable of something unforgivable? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. 4 days after Halloween. Daniel hadn't slept since his mother died. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, purple, terrified, clawing at her throat while he knelt helpless beside her. And behind her, always behind her, was Clara's face. Calm. Watching. Knowing. The house felt like a tomb. He'd stopped answering the door when neighbors came by with casseroles and condolences. Stopped checking his phone when his principal called asking when he'd be back to work. Stopped pretending that anything would ever be normal again. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday. Small, private. Exactly the way Evelyn would have hated it. She'd always wanted something grand. Hundreds of people mourning her, proving how important she'd been. Instead, she'd get a dozen uncomfortable colleagues and distant relatives who'd spend the whole time checking their watches. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, staring at the candy bowl. He still hadn't thrown it away. Couldn't bring himself to touch it. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Rhodes, this is Detective Morris. Need you to come down to the station today at 2 p.m. Some questions about your mother's case. Bring a lawyer if you want." Daniel's hands started shaking. Bring a lawyer if you want meant you're going to need one. He texted back, "I'll be there." Then he did something he hadn't done since he was a child. He put his head down on the table and cried until there was nothing left inside him. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Detective Morris met Daniel in the lobby, his face neutral but not unkind. "Thanks for coming in. Follow me." They walked down a hallway painted industrial beige, past rooms where other people's lives were being dissected and examined. Morris led him into an interview room, small, windowless, with a table and 3 chairs and a mirror that was obviously one-way glass. Detective Chen was already there, a folder in front of her that looked too thick for comfort. "Have a seat, Mr. Rhodes," Morris said. Daniel sat. His mouth was dry. "Am I under arrest?" "No. But we have some concerns we need to address." Morris opened the folder. Inside were photographs. The candy bowl, the chocolate wrapper, Evelyn's flask, the medicine cabinet in Daniel's bathroom. "The autopsy came back," Chen said. "Your mother died of cardiac arrest triggered by a dangerous interaction between her heart medication and alcohol. Blood alcohol content was 0.12. She was legally drunk." Daniel nodded. That tracked. His mother had been drinking more in the last year, ever since his father died and left her alone in that big house with nothing but her bitterness for company. "So it was an accident," Daniel said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Just like we thought." "Not exactly." Morris pulled out another photograph. This one showed the inside of Evelyn's purse, wallet, keys, tissues, and a small glass vial with a label. "We found this. Thallium sulfate. Highly toxic. Completely illegal to possess without proper licensing." Daniel's heart stopped. "According to the pharmacist we tracked down, guy who lost his license 3 years ago for exactly this kind of thing, your mother purchased this 2 weeks ago. Told him she needed it for pest control." Chen's eyes were sharp. "You know what kind of pests she was trying to control, Mr. Rhodes?" I never," Daniel's voice cracked. He couldn't finish the sentence. Morris leaned forward. "Here's what we think happened. Your mother was planning something. Something involving poison. We found traces of thallium in your medicine cabinet, specifically in a vial hidden behind your allergy medication." The room started spinning. "We also found vitamin B powder in your kitchen sink drain," Chen added. "Same brand as the supplements your wife takes. Someone replaced the poison with something harmless." Daniel couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. "Your wife came to see us yesterday," Morris said quietly. "Brought us something we need you to hear." He pulled out a small digital recorder and pressed play. Evelyn's voice filled the room, cold and precise. 2 tablespoons mixed into anything sweet. She won't taste it. Won't even know what's happening until it's too late. Daniel's voice weak and uncertain. "What if she suffers?" "Then she suffers, Danny. At least she'll be gone. And we can finally have our family back. Just the 2 of us, the way it should be. I don't know if I can do this." "Yes, you can. You're my son. You're strong. Stronger than that woman gives you credit for. After tonight, you'll be free. We'll be free. And no one will ever know." The recording clicked off. Daniel felt bile rising in his throat. How did Clara? She recorded you in your garage 3 days before Halloween, Chin said. Brought it to us the next day. Told us her husband and mother-in-law were planning to poison her. We didn't believe her at first, Morris admitted. Sounded crazy. But she had evidence. The poison she'd found and replaced. Photos. Timestamps. Text messages between you and your mother about solving the Clara problem. He pulled out printouts, weeks of texts Daniel had forgotten about, hadn't even thought about deleting. Mom, she's destroying you. When are you going to do something about it? Daniel, I don't know what to do. Mom, I do. Come over tomorrow. We need to talk about permanent solutions. Daniel. Permanent? Mom, you know what I mean. And on and on. A paper trail of conspiracy. Of premeditated murder. Your wife came to us with everything, Chin said. Gave us probable cause for a warrant. We could have arrested you that day, Mr. Rhodes. Could have stopped this whole thing. Why didn't you? Daniel whispered. Morris exchanged a glance with Chen. Because Clara asked us not to. She had a different plan. That's when the door opened and Clara walked in. Daniel's breath caught. She looked different, thinner, tired, but somehow stronger. Like she'd been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. Her braids pulled back from her face. Behind her was a woman in a gray pantsuit with an FBI badge clipped to her belt. Mr. Rhodes, the woman said. I'm Special Agent Rebecca Kim with the FBI. We've been investigating your mother for the past 6 months. Daniel's head was spinning. Investigating her for what? Agent Kim sat down across from him, opened her own folder. Inside were bank statements, property records, insurance documents. Evelyn Rhodes has been under suspicion for financial fraud, embezzlement from her charity foundation, and, she paused, her eyes hard, the suspicious death of your father 2 years ago. The air left Daniel's lungs. What? Your father didn't die of natural causes, Mr. Rhodes. We believe he was poisoned. Same method. Same pharmaceutical contact. We've been building a case but needed more evidence. Agent Kim's voice was clinical, detached. When Clara came to us with recordings of your mother planning another murder, it gave us what we needed. Clara spoke for the first time, her voice quiet. Your mother killed your father for his life insurance. Daniel. She's been living off that money and the charity fund she's been stealing for 2 years. Daniel felt like he was falling. No, Dad had a heart attack. The doctors said. The doctors were wrong. Agent Kim pulled out an autopsy report. We had his body exhumed last month. Found traces of thallium in his tissue samples. Your mother poisoned him slowly over 6 months. Made it look like his heart was failing naturally. The room was silent except for Daniel's ragged breathing. Why would she? He was her husband. He was going to leave her, Clara said softly. I found the divorce papers in your mother's safe when I was looking for the poison. Your father was going to divorce her and take half of everything. She couldn't stand that. So she killed him. Daniel's mind raced back 2 years. His father getting sick. Losing weight. Complaining of fatigue. Nausea. Weakness. The doctors running tests that showed nothing. And then one morning, he just didn't wake up. Evelyn had cried at the funeral. Had held Daniel and said, "It's just us now, baby. We have to take care of each other." And Daniel had believed her. She was going to make you do the same thing to Clara, Agent Kim continued. Turn you into a murderer. Keep you under her control forever through guilt and complicity. But Clara figured it out, Morris added. Switched the poison. Set up cameras in your house. Did you know that? Daniel shook his head numbly. Clara pulled out her phone, showed him footage. The kitchen. The living room. Him and his mother whispering in corners. Planning, conspiring. Every damning moment captured in high definition. I had to know how deep it went, Clara said. Had to see if you were a victim or a willing participant. And Daniel's voice cracked. What did you decide? Clara looked at him with eyes that had once loved him and now held only sadness. You were both. Your mother manipulated you. But you chose to go along with it. You chose me dying over standing up to her. Agent Kim cleared her throat. Here's where we are, Mr. Rhodes. We have evidence of conspiracy to commit murder. Your mother was the mastermind, but you were a willing participant. Normally, you'd be looking at 15 to 20 years. Daniel felt the world tilting. But, Agent Kim continued, Clara has asked us to offer you a deal. He looked at his wife, ex-wife, probably after this. What kind of deal? Full cooperation, Agent Kim said. You testify about everything your mother told you. Help us close the case on your father's murder. Provide any additional evidence about her financial crimes. In exchange, we'll reduce the charges to conspiracy and attempted poisoning. You'll serve 5 years, probably out in 3 with good behavior. And if I don't cooperate, then we prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And I promise you, Mr. Rhodes, I'm very good at my job. Daniel looked at Clara. Really looked at her. Why would you give me a deal? After everything I did, everything I tried to do. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Because I loved you once. And I think underneath all your mother's poison, there might still be a person worth saving. She wiped her eyes. But mostly because I'm tired, Daniel. I'm tired of hate and revenge and all of it. I just want to move on with my life. I'm so sorry, Daniel whispered. God, Clara, I'm so sorry. I was weak. I let her control me. I should have protected you instead of trying to kill me. Clara's voice was sharp but not cruel. Yeah, you should have. She stood up. Sign the deal, Daniel. Tell them everything. Maybe someday you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror again. She headed for the door. Clara, wait. Daniel stood, his chair scraping against the floor. Can I see you again? After. When I get out. She turned back, her hand on the doorknob. For a moment, something soft crossed her face. Memory of better days. Of the man he used to be before his mother's poison, literal and metaphorical, had corrupted everything. No, she said quietly. I don't think so. I need to remember you the way you were 7 years ago. The man who read to kids at the library and made me laugh and made me feel safe. Her voice cracked. I can't see who you became. It would hurt too much. I understand. I hope you find peace, Daniel. I really do. But you're going to have to find it without me. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Daniel sat back down, feeling older than he'd ever felt in his life. Agent Kim pushed the cooperation agreement across the table. Morris handed him a pen. One more thing, Chin said. The candy bowl. The one with the Halloween candy. We tested every piece. Not a trace of poison in any of it. Daniel looked up, confused. But I put it in there. I watched it dissolve. Your wife switched it before you ever added the poison, Morris explained. She dumped out all the original candy, replaced it with clean stuff, then put your vitamin-laced candy back on top. Nothing in that bowl could have hurt anyone. Your mother died from her own choices, Agent Kim said. From alcohol and medication and 72 years of cruelty eating her alive from the inside. Not from any poison you put in that candy. Daniel felt something crack inside his chest. Relief and grief and guilt all tangled together. So I didn't kill her. No, Agent Kim said. But you tried to kill your wife. And that's what you're going to answer for. Daniel picked up the pen. His hand was steadier than it had been in days. He signed his name on the dotted line. 6 months later, Clara sat in her new apartment on the other side of town. Small, bright, filled with plants she was slowly learning how to keep alive. The windows faced east, so every morning the sun woke her up gently, washing everything in gold. She'd quit her nursing assistant job. Used some of the money from the divorce settlement. She'd taken nothing from Evelyn's estate, didn't want blood money, to go back to school. She was studying to become a nurse practitioner now. Helping people heal. It felt right. Her phone buzzed. A text from Detective Morris. Rhodes pleaded guilty today. 5 years eligible for parole in 3. Case closed. You did good, Clara. Real good. Clara read it twice, then deleted it. She didn't need to carry that anymore. Outside her window, spring was coming. The trees were starting to bud. The world was turning green again, the way it always did, no matter how harsh the winter had been. Her doorbell rang. Clara opened it to find her mother standing there. Josephine, 70 years old, recovering from her stroke, leaning on a cane but smiling wide. "Baby girl," Josephine said, pulling her into a hug. "You look good. You look free." Clara held her mother tight, breathing in the smell of cocoa butter and love. "I am free, Mama. Finally." They sat on the couch, drinking tea, talking about nothing important. The weather. The plants. The new coffee shop down the street. "You ever think about him?" Josephine asked eventually. About Daniel. Clara was quiet for a long moment. "Sometimes. I think about who he could have been. Who we both could have been if his mother hadn't been in the picture." "You think he can change? In prison?" "I don't know. Maybe." Clara stared into her tea. "But it's not my job to save him anymore. He has to save himself. That's real wisdom, baby. Real growth." Clara smiled. It felt good. Natural. Like something she hadn't done in years but was finally remembering how. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from a number she didn't recognize. "Hi. My name is Marcus. I saw your profile on the nursing student message board. Would you want to grab coffee sometime? No pressure." Clara looked at it for a long moment. Thought about saying no. Thought about all the ways love had hurt her. About trust and poison and betrayal. Then she thought about mornings filled with sunlight. About starting over. About the fact that not every man was Daniel Rhodes and not every mother-in-law was Evelyn. She typed back, "Coffee sounds good. Saturday at 2. The response came immediately. "Perfect. Can't wait to meet you." Clara set down her phone and looked at her mother, who was grinning. "New beginning?" Josephine asked. "Maybe," Clara said. "We'll see." Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. Beautiful and temporary and promising tomorrow. Clara had survived a man who tried to kill her and a monster who raised him. She'd walk through fire and come out the other side. And now, finally, she was ready to live again. 3 years later. Daniel Rhodes sat in the prison library, surrounded by books and silence. He'd served 3 years of his 5-year sentence. Parole hearing was in 6 months. He'd changed in prison. Not in the dramatic way movies show. No sudden epiphany, no dramatic transformation. Just small, daily choices to be better than he was. To understand what his mother had done to him. to take responsibility for what he'd done to Clara. He went to therapy, group sessions with other men who'd been controlled and manipulated by people who claimed to love them. Individual sessions where he finally talked about his childhood, about fear and control and the slow erosion of self until there was nothing left but obedience. He wrote letters to Clara every month. Never sent them. Just wrote them and kept them in a folder, a record of his growth, his apologies, his understanding that sorry would never be enough. His therapist said it was healthy, a way of processing without expecting forgiveness he didn't deserve. Today, he was reading a book about second chances when the guard called his name. Rhodes, you got a visitor. Daniel's heart jumped. He never got visitors. Had specifically asked his remaining family not to come. Couldn't bear to see their pity or judgment or relief that it was him in here and not them. He followed the guard to the visiting room, expecting maybe his lawyer with parole paperwork. Instead, he found Clara. She sat at one of the tables, looking exactly the same but completely different. Confident. Whole. Wearing scrubs with a hospital ID badge that said Clara Rhodes, NP. Daniel stopped in the doorway, unable to move. "Hi, Daniel," she said quietly. He sat down slowly, like she might disappear if he moved too fast. "What are you doing here?" "I don't know," Clara admitted. "I've been thinking about coming for 6 months. Kept talking myself out of it. But then I woke up this morning and thought, I need to see him. Need to see if the change is real." "It is," Daniel said, his voice rough with emotion. I'm not who I was. I know that doesn't change anything. Doesn't fix what I did. But I'm trying to be better." Clara studied him with those sharp, knowing eyes. "I can see that. You look different. Clearer." They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, other inmates talked with their families, their lawyers, their loved ones who'd stuck around. "I'm not here to get back together," Clara said finally. "I need you to understand that. I'm happy now. I'm dating someone. A good man who treats me the way I deserve." "I'm glad," Daniel said, and meant it. "You deserve everything good, Clara. Everything I couldn't give you. But I needed closure," she continued. "Needed to see you face to face and say, I forgive you." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to. For me, not for you." Clara's voice was steady. "I'm tired of carrying hate around. It's heavy. And you've been punished. You're paying for what you did. And I think maybe the man I married is still in there somewhere. Buried under years of your mother's abuse." "She poisoned me long before she tried to poison you," Daniel whispered. "I understand that now." "I know." Clara reached across the table, didn't quite touch his hand but close. "I hope you find peace, Daniel. Real peace. The kind that doesn't depend on someone else's approval." "Thank you." He wiped his eyes. "For everything. For saving my life by saving yours. For giving me a chance to change instead of just throwing me away." "Everyone deserves a chance to be better," Clara said. "Even people who've done terrible things. That's what I've learned." She stood up. Visiting time was almost over. "Will I see you again?" Daniel asked. Clara smiled, sad but genuine. "Maybe. When you get out, if you stay on the right path, maybe we can get coffee. Talk about how far we've both come. But not as husband and wife. As two people who survived something horrible and made it to the other side." "I'd like that." "So would I." She turned to go, then paused. "Daniel. One more thing." "Yeah. Thank you for signing that cooperation agreement. The FBI was able to close your father's case. He got justice because of you. That matters." After she left, Daniel sat in the visiting room until the guard came to take him back to his cell. He felt lighter somehow, like he'd been carrying a weight he didn't know was there and someone had finally lifted it. That night, he wrote another letter to Clara. This one, he addressed and stamped. "Dear Clara, thank you for seeing me today. Thank you for your forgiveness, even though I don't deserve it. Thank you for saving my life by refusing to let me become a murderer. You were right about everything. My mother poisoned me long before that Halloween night. But you gave me the antidote, consequences, clarity, a chance to face what I'd become. I'm not asking for anything. Not asking you to wait or to come back or to forgive me any more than you already have. I just wanted you to know that you saved 2 lives that night. Mine and yours. Be happy, Clara. Be so happy. You earned it. Daniel." He mailed it the next morning. 2 weeks later, he got a response. Just 3 words written on a postcard showing a sunrise. "I am. See." And that, Daniel thought, was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The end. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing freedom over bitterness. Have you ever forgiven someone who hurt you deeply? How did it change your life? Share your story below. Your words might help someone else find their path to healing.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.